Imagine a night sky, not filled with stars, but with streaks of lethal fire. In the volatile landscape of the Middle East, this isn't a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster, it is a terrifying daily reality. But standing between the chaos of incoming rockets and the innocent family sleeping below is a silent metallic guardian. This is the Iron Dome. It is more than just a weapon of war. It is widely regarded as the ultimate safety zone, a high-tech bubble designed to intercept destruction before it ever touches the ground. This massive undertaking was brought to life by the engineering giants at Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and Israel Aerospace Industries. Their goal was simple but nearly impossible: to create a shield that never sleeps. The results have been nothing short of historic. Since its first combat interception, the Iron Dome has maintained a staggering success rate of over 90%. That represents thousands of successful missions and countless lives saved from what would have been certain catastrophe. But behind those impressive numbers lies a chilling question that haunts military strategists. In the world of high-stakes aerial warfare, 90% success rate is world-class, but it isn't perfect. It is that remaining 10%, the rockets, that manage to slip through the net, that leads to devastating consequences. When the stakes are human lives, even a tiny margin of error is a matter of life and death. How does this system track a small, unguided rocket moving at supersonic speeds through total darkness? How does it calculate, in less than 2 seconds, which threats are lethal and which can be safely ignored? This is a masterpiece of artificial intelligence, radar precision, and raw kinetic power. In the video ahead, we are going to peel back the layers of this incredible machine to see how it really works. Let's dive into its parts and functions. To understand how this shield operates, we have to look at the 3 main pillars that make up the Iron Dome battery. First, there is the LM-2084 multi-mission radar. This is the eyes of the system. It is an active electronically scanned array, or ASA radar, built with the highest quality sensors to detect incoming threats from as far as 70 kilometers away. Unlike older radar systems that had to physically spin to see in different directions, this stationary unit uses thousands of small antenna modules to steer its beam electronically. It doesn't just see one rocket, it can track up to 1,100 targets simultaneously in a 360-degree radius, even in the middle of a heavy rainstorm or a thick dust cloud. Next is the Battle Management and Control Unit, often referred to as the BMC. This is the brain of the entire operation. It is a mobile command center packed with high-speed processors and some of the most advanced algorithms ever written by military engineers. Its job is to take the raw data from the radar and make a split-second decision. It has to calculate the flight path, the wind resistance, and the velocity to determine, is this rocket going to hit a playground, or is it going to land in an empty field? This unit is the nerve center that connects the eyes to the muscles. Finally, we have the Missile Firing Unit, the MFU. Each Iron Dome battery usually consists of 3 to 4 of these heavy-duty launchers. Each launcher is a massive rectangular block that stacks 20 Tamir interceptor missiles, ready to be fired at a moment's notice. These launchers are often spread out across the landscape, connected to the brain via a secure wireless data link, ensuring that the system can cover a wide area from multiple angles. But the real magic happens inside the interceptor itself. Let's take a look at the Tamir missile. If we peel back the outer casing, we find a masterpiece of miniaturized engineering that makes this weapon one of the most agile objects in the sky. Starting at the very tip, we have the seeker head. This is a high-resolution electro-optic sensor that acts like a digital eye. It allows the missile to see its target even after it leaves the launch canister, making real-time adjustments as the enemy rocket tries to evade or as atmospheric conditions change. Just behind the seeker are the 4 maneuverable fins, also known as canards. These are not static pieces of metal. They are controlled by high-speed actuators that allow the Tamir to pull extreme G-forces that would crush a human pilot. Because a rocket is a moving target, the Tamir has to be highly agile, constantly dancing through the air to stay on an intercept course. The body of the missile is powered by a solid rocket motor that accelerates the interceptor to Mach 2.2, which is over 1,600 miles per hour in a matter of seconds. In the middle of the missile is the warhead, but it is not just a simple block of explosives, it is surrounded by a laser proximity fuse. This is a crucial piece of technology that sets the Iron Dome apart from traditional air defense. The Tamir doesn't actually need to hit the enemy rocket dead-on. As it gets within a few meters of the threat, the laser sensors detect the distance and detonate the warhead at the perfect microsecond. This creates a spectacular display of high-velocity fragments that shred the incoming rocket mid-air, neutralizing the threat before it can reach its destination. To give you an idea of the scale of this firepower, let's look at the Tamir missile next to an average human. Standing at about 3 meters tall, or roughly 10 feet, it towers over a soldier. It is a massive piece of hardware weighing around 90 kilograms, which is nearly 200 pounds. Yet, despite its heavy weight and large size, the computer board inside the actual pilot of the missile is no thicker than your average smartphone. It is a lot of computing power packed into a very tight, rugged space designed to survive the intense vibrations of a supersonic launch. Now that we have understood the parts of this machine, let's look at how a typical interception unfolds in these super simplified steps. Step number 1. The radar detects a launch. As soon as an enemy rocket leaves the ground, the LM-2084 picks up the heat signature and the metallic silhouette. It immediately begins calculating the trajectory to see where the rocket is headed. Step number 2. Target classification. The system analyzes the speed, the size, and the flight characteristics to confirm that it is a hostile threat and not a friendly aircraft, civilian drone, or a flock of birds. Step number 3. Impact point prediction. This is where the AI takes over. In milliseconds, it calculates exactly where that rocket will land. It builds a virtual map of the city and identifies the red zones where people are located. Step number 4, the decision. If the AI determines the rocket is heading for a populated area or critical infrastructure, flags it for an immediate kill. If the rocket is heading for an empty desert or the sea, the system saves the expensive missile and lets the rocket fall harmlessly. Step number 5, launch authorization. The MFU receives the digital command, and the Tamir missile is ignited. It blasts out of the canister with a roar, leaving behind a trail of smoke as it accelerates to supersonic speeds almost instantly. Step number 6, mid-course guidance. While in flight, the missile isn't flying blind. The BMC sends updated coordinates to the Tamir via a data link, ensuring it stays on the most efficient path as the target moves. Step number 7, terminal homing. As the missile gets closer to the enemy rocket, its own seeker head takes over. It locks onto the heat and the physical shape of the threat for the final approach, making thousands of micro-adjustments to its fins. Step number 8, the kill. The laser proximity fuse activates, the warhead detonates, and the threat is neutralized in a spectacular display of fire and steel. This dual-purpose design ensures that even if the explosion doesn't destroy the rocket, the fragmentation will. While the mechanics of the launchers and the speed of the missiles are impressive, the real challenge isn't just hitting the target, it's the mental and digital strain of deciding whether to fire at all. This leads us to the most intense part of the process, the 2-second decision window. Because in this game of cat and mouse, every second counts, and every choice has a price. This 2-second window is where the cold, calculating logic of artificial intelligence meets the crushing weight of human responsibility. Think of the Iron Dome's brain as a high-speed referee in a game where the stakes are life and death. As a rocket streaks through the air, the algorithms are performing a discrimination process that is both brilliant and terrifying. In a fraction of a heartbeat, the system builds a virtual grid over the landscape. It knows exactly where the schools are, where the hospitals sit, and where the crowded apartment blocks are located. These are the red zones. If the trajectory shows the rocket landing in a sand dune or sinking into the sea, the system does something remarkable. It ignores it. It lets the rocket fall. This isn't a glitch. It is a calculated choice to conserve resources and avoid unnecessary noise in the sky. But if that math shows a hit in a red zone, the system screams into action. This screening process is what allows the Iron Dome to handle massive volleys of fire without depleting its entire arsenal in minutes. It is a well-choreographed dance of data, filtering out the trash to focus on the lethal threats. However, we cannot overlook the psychological toll inside the Battle Management Center. While the AI suggests the target, a human operator often has to provide the final authorization. Imagine sitting in a dim room, surrounded by flashing monitors and the hum of servers. You have less time than it takes to blink to verify a kill. A single click of the mouse launches a missile that costs more than most people earn in a year. A mistake in either direction, firing at nothing or failing to fire at a real threat, can lead to international headlines or a national tragedy. It is a level of pressure that most of us can barely comprehend. But folks, here's the twist that many people miss when they look at the spectacular footage of these interceptions. We have to talk about the staggering economic paradox of modern warfare. It's been called the Supercar versus the rock problem. On one side, you have an enemy rocket that is essentially a metal pipe filled with a crude mixture of sugar and fertilizer. It's cheap, it's unguided, and it costs maybe $500 to build. On the other side, you have the Tamir interceptor, as we saw. This is a piece of elite aerospace engineering, packed with electro-optic sensors, laser fuses, and high-speed processors. Each one costs around $50,000. Every time you see a successful hit on the news, you are watching a $50,000 supercar being intentionally crashed into a $500 pipe. From a purely financial perspective, the defense is losing the war of attrition. The enemy can fire 100 cheap rockets for the price of just one of yours. It is a lopsided battle of math where the defender must spend millions just to stay standing. It is a smart design, but it is one that creates a massive financial burden that few countries could ever afford to sustain long term. And then there is the lingering shadow of the Iron Rain. When people see the firework-like explosion in the sky, They often assume the threat has simply vanished, but the laws of physics don't work that way. When a Temir missile shreds a rocket at Mach 2, the conservation of mass takes over. The explosion doesn't vaporize the metal, it turns it into hundreds of jagged, high-velocity shards. This debris doesn't just stay in the air, what goes up must come down. Even a successful interception creates a rain of lethal shrapnel and unspent rocket fuel that falls indiscriminately over the very cities the system is designed to protect. While the Iron Dome prevents a massive explosion on the ground, it cannot stop the potential unintended consequences of falling metal. Civilians are warned to stay in shelters not just because of the rockets, but because of the defense itself. It is a grim reminder that in war, even the most perfect shield has an edge that can cut both ways. The complexity of these systems is almost impossible to grasp until you see them broken down, piece by piece. It takes an incredible amount of coordination, from the radar technicians to the software engineers, to make this dance of defense possible. This transition from the high-tech chaos of the battlefield to the quiet precision of engineering is what makes this machine so fascinating. It is a story of human ingenuity pushed to its absolute limit. Now that we've seen the sheer scale of the struggle behind the screen, I want to show you how we brought this entire world to life in our studio. Everything you've just seen, from the massive ELM 2084 radar to the microscopic circuitry inside the Temir interceptor, was built by hand right here in our studio. We don't use high-end 3D software or digital shortcuts. Every single component is a physical paper cutout, meticulously crafted with precision blades to match the real-world engineering. Those spectacular mid-air explosions, those were captured in camera using thousands of micro-LEDs to simulate the intense flash of the laser proximity fuse in real time. It is a grueling, labor-intensive process that demands absolute focus. To give you some perspective on the scale of the work, it took our team over 100 hours of manual paper cutting and stop-motion rigging just to bring that single 2-second interception sequence to life on your screen. If you appreciate the dedication to the craft and the deep dive into military science, please consider hitting the subscribe button and lighting up the notifications. It's the best way to support the channel and keep our paper studio running. We're already planning our next project, so drop a comment below and let us know. What piece of complex military technology should we dissect next? We're reading every single suggestion.